Let's do it. Welcome to the No Shave Men Cave. Now your hosts, Ellie Jair and Jay Tilley.
Good day. Hey, we made it to Thirsty Thursday's edition of the No Shave Man Cave. I'm Ellie Jair.
Jay Tilley.
And we can't be any happier to have you here today to talk about what we saw in AEW. And I tell you, it's been a week of wrestling, nearly, and we're going to talk about it. And you know, you've got your highlights, you got your lowlights, and then you just got your lights. And I feel like AEW gave us a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
You know? So you had some backstage, you had some good ring stuff, you had some action on the ramp, and you know, you being an AEW guy, let's go right in. You know, the unfortunate passing of Jerry Jarrett.
Yeah, it was rough.
You know, he was I want to say before his time, but I think had he evolved with wrestling and the Continental Wrestling Association would have happened a little bit earlier, we would be farther along in wrestling, because he was doing those skits before it was even cool. So what'd you think, just to, you know, 10,000 feet quick, and you being a big wrestling fan, what'd you think
of the show itself overall, or just the Jared?
Yeah, with the Jarrett quick blurb.
Yeah, I mean, quiet. You know, it's unfortunate part of life, right? Like, people pass, and I saw the news break. You know, I didn't follow him as much. I do remember just recently watching him on one of the Territory. I don't remember which one, but one of those Territory documentaries, and listening to the stories about him. So I kind of felt a little closer to him just because I just recently watched that. So it's always sad to see a passing. We'll get into the matches of the show itself, but I thought the tribute, and then Jeff Jarrett's music hitting, and then him walking out, that was pretty cool. Like, the fact that he could go to work and kind of go beyond that and go in and do his job, which is, I don't want to, everybody grieves differently, but you kind of think that if he didn't think that's what his dad would want, he wouldn't have done it. So
yeah, I mean, you know, Jeff Jarrett, a true professional, a Hall of Famer in, you know, he's got some backstage stuff that he does with AEW as well, and a true showman, knowing that the show must go on. So, you know, they have the tribute. He comes out. He's got the guitar, and then Acclaim's music hits, and it's like, or I'm sorry, Orange Cassidy's music hits. Yeah, and you know, Orange Cassidy from wherever, weighing whatever, and the kids that were in the crowd, I thought was classic, because there was a kid holding the sign saying whatever, and then there was a kid dressed up like Danhausen off to the side. I was like, that is perfect timing, because Danhausen joined him coming down to the ring. Yep. And
number one merch seller.
Yeah. And then the Acclaim come out, listen. And you know, Jerry Jarrett was you know, too bad your dad was a legend and you were a douche, and you're just like, I need you to learn how to open up and share a little bit with the group. Yeah. So I thought that was good humor, and even as a Hall of Famer, he doesn't take himself too seriously. I really like that.
Yeah, I before we get into the match, I thought the rap was good. Like, definitely, like, your dad was a legend. Sorry about that. You're still a douche. The Nepo baby line, and the you know, lockdown of TNA and all that. So yeah, it was good, and obviously Jarrett bought off on it, or they wouldn't have done it, I'm sure. Right. So I appreciated it. It was an extra little tribute there.
Yeah, and you know, Jeff Jarrett did a lot of really good business when he was with WWE for that cup of coffee. Yeah, and I would say he's one of the, like, I'm air quoting, Nepo babies that is truly giving back to the wrestling business. Yeah, and continues to move and help wrestling progress, and in the international markets and stuff. He's really helping out some of the international markets. Not quite like we are in India, but he's trying. And he's part of the international ambassador stuff, and I thought it was a lot of fun. And so it was Satnam Singh, Sanjay, who, like, Sanjay used to do some really, really good stuff. He's wrestled all over the world, did some time in WWE, and he was the X Division champion at TNA or Impact. And Jay Lethal, Mr. Machismo, like, ooh, man. So they all really put it in. Everybody got their stuff in, and then in came Daddy Ass, and he hit the famouser, or the ass man on the big guy.
Yeah.
And I popped. I was like, oh my God, because Billy Gunn looked great. So
right. Yeah, I thought it was a decent match. I like the end sequence where they set him up for the the Sesame Timbers, where their finisher, and every person got up to do it and got knocked down. The next one got up, got knocked down, and then Orange Cassidy does his little tiny kicks, and then gets up like he's gonna, and he gets knocked down, and then finally, I think it was Bowens gets up and gets it, and they get the pin on Sanjay. Yeah, it was a decent match. Comical match to begin with. The issue, if there's any issue I could point out with it, is for the Acclaim, they just lost the titles. Like, it felt like, we'll get them back later. Let's go have fun. Uh-huh. So there were parts of the match where you kind of saw the aggression and the anger, but as far as, like, they did a good job when Hangman lost his. Like, he went into his doubting and he cut a promo on how much he hated it. And to me, I think if a champion loses their title, they should be upset. Now, with Jeff, maybe they changed the tone of the match a little bit with the passing of Jeff Jarrett's dad, so they tried to make it more fun. I don't know. But the match itself was good. I enjoyed it. That was my only little niche. Like, you guys just lost the belt. Like, why aren't you more focused on that? Which, granted, later in the show, they cut a promo, and they are. I thought, okay. And I will say they looked a little more aggressive, but it just felt like the same old happy Acclaim when they just basically got screwed out of their title last week. So I thought that was a little odd. And,
they came out, they did their usual Laredo, the wrestling Texas tour. They've been in nearly every city since the previous pay-per-view. And tonight they were in Laredo, and MJF was contractually obligated. The crowd seemed really good. I'd be interested to see what the figures were. Didn't look like a huge crowd.
It was definitely a smaller crowd.
Yeah, they sounded really good, which, AEW, they generally have a really good crowd. So that, I thought that was important for the match and what they were building for Rampage. And I'm totally impressed with what the Rampage card is, and we'll get into that a little bit later on down the road. But so the match goes. Everybody pretty much got their stuff in. It sort of stalled. I think someone got bumped out of the ring that they weren't expecting to hit so hard. I think it was Daddy Ass hit pretty good, and everybody kind of poured over to the corner. And he's like, "Oh, whatever. Well, I'm just an old man. Don't worry about it." Mm-hmm. They go back through, and they hit they get the finish right as everything's starting to tighten up, looking like what the finish is going to be, and out come the Guns.
Yep.
And I thought that was a good piece to sort of spill into what they were going to do next. I thought that was important, and hopefully what you'll get going forward will be a more focused Acclaim, but I don't want them to change who they are, because that's obviously what got them to the dance. But I think with them toward the end, like you said, they got a little more aggressive. They got the pin, which I think was important, and closed up the match. And then came a really, really good promo from Bryan Danielson.
Yes. Oof.
That was that. Although it was recorded, in my humble opinion, I think that was the best time he's spent on the stick, and the line about being the boogeyman coming to get the AEW title. Ooh, I was watching that, and I got the bumps. I had some serious goosebumps. I'm excited.
Yeah, I definitely think that the promos in general between last week and this week, everybody kind of seems to went to promo class because they've been on fire. Now, Danielson and MJF have always cut really good promos because MJF does one a little later too. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I thought it was good. Yeah, the boogeyman thing, and it made you believe like, oh, he might actually almost win this. I don't believe he will. I believe MJF's going to carry it through the War of 24. But it was enough of a promo to make me go, maybe?
Right.
Maybe? Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting going into the Iron Man match on how they're going to build that. Because obviously, my assumption is most people believe that MJF's going to keep the title. You're not going to put it on him and take it right away from him.
Right. Especially if he just made that beautiful custom title that,
right.
You know, and I already like the AEW title. It sort of harkens back to some of the traditional titles, like the real majestic looking Intercontinental title, some of the Mid-South titles, and Florida Championship Wrestling used to have a real slick title that just was gorgeous, and it's sitting over your shoulder. I look at it every day, but
right
AEW
right above Rob,
that title needs a nickname, and
like the big gold or
big gold, 10 pounds of gold, all that's taken, but especially the way MJF is carrying it, and so the promo goes, and I don't know what they put in the water in Laredo, but they must have gave an extra bottle to everyone for the next match, because it was a Texas tornado match. And I didn't know much about Preston Vance, so I had to hop on the old Google. That was 10.
Yes.
And young guy, born in 92, young guy. Relatively young. That's when I graduated high school. Knock it off. And he spent a little bit of time in NXT, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he had some really good matches, and one of his matches against Punishment Martinez, who's now Priest with the WWE, was made the PWI series back in 2018.
Okay.
So that used to be 10. So
he was handpicked by Brody Lee too. The late Brody Lee handpicked him to come to AEW and be part of the Dark Order, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. So they get in there, and Mox and Claudio are coming out. Music's playing, everybody's super pumped, and then boom. And Taz even said, "That's a great way to handle it." And the match starts out on the floor. It was a busy time, and it looked like Mox had slipped a little bit. Mm-hmm. And when Claudio picked him up, Mox, his eyes, holy cow, this guy's strong. So he picks him up. They make their way, and as the guys say over at What Culture, old Barry Barricade started getting some attention when Roos got thrown into Barry Barricade, and they finally got into the ring. What did you think once they got into the ring? How'd you like it?
So the match overall, I felt, first of all, it didn't live up to what I thought it was going to be. It felt a little clunky, I can't even put my finger on it. It just felt like not everything was as smooth as it was. And then when it finally started to get momentum, I thought it got kind of kicked in the balls with a commercial break, because I felt like
I wrote that down. Picture in picture again.
Yeah,
for that match.
It was two in that match.
Yep. Yeah, and the match started at 31 minutes into the show. They had two picture in pictures, and then all of a sudden it was over. I'm like, about 1/4 of that match was picture in picture.
Yeah, and So, like I said, they get in the ring, and it looked off. And even some of the interactions with there was something I think it was Roosh running after Moxley into the corner, and Roosh kind of eased up and like instead of a good chop, he just kind of tapped him, and it looked weak. And I'm like, come on, but you can tell Moxley's like, what the fuck are you doing? And he chops the right out of him.
Yeah.
So that kind of to me sparked it because then it started picking up, and it was like, all right, guys, wake up. And I just felt like the beginning part, there was a part with Claudio either coming in the ring or going out. I don't remember exactly what. And you can tell they were supposed to do a move there, and it didn't quite click, and they kind of had to call it on the fly. The chair shot where they had Claudio on the table, I felt like Preston had to remind Roosh to come over to do it because you could plainly hear him call him now. In storyline, yeah, maybe it's, hey, I got an idea, bring that chair. But I just felt like maybe he was out of position. And then it starts picking up, and then you're like, all right, now it's go. And then they go to commercial. And just due to the fact that they go to commercial, they're going to slow it down in the ring because they're not going to, blow their wad during commercial, so they slow down. And that's just the nature of the beast, and it's a TV show. But a lot of things on this show I felt dealt with a pacing issue and dealt with just the fact that I think I mentioned it last week, or maybe it was on our Friday review, that I had worries about this card because there was nothing on this card that I'm like, that's a main event, or ooh, that's going to be there was none of those grabbing, oh my gosh, this is going to be great. And I think this whole sequence throughout the show kind of suffered for that. And it's hard for me because I'm a big AEW fan. And they put in some good work. They did some good stuff towards the end. And Moxley, with the choke before he hangs him, there was good stuff at the end. Busted open, and Preston Vance, and they touched on the long-term storytelling about how Moxley tore his bicep off his arm, and he had to have surgery and put him out. And then the next time they fought, he bloodied him up.
Yeah.
So I appreciated all of that. The match itself felt a little clunky, and then finally when it's going, they go to commercial, they slow it down, and then you come back and it's the finish.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting because Roosh and Claudio didn't bleed, and then there was talk that the two of them will face at Honor No More in a few weeks for their pay-per-view. Lots of blood, like most people know, I'm not a huge blood fan, but with Preston, the way they were talking, almost like he was looking for redemption against Mox. I thought that was necessary for the match, and so as Claudio started to hit him with the spin, and he grabbed his head.
Yeah, to hold the blood in.
Dude, this dude is, and it may have been from a couple weeks ago when Bryan Danielson
like a sprinkler out
there, bleeding all over the cameras. So really good pops. When Claudio grabbed the chain, people went nuts because even Taz mentioned, talking about the technical side of Claudio, he can get violent with the best of them.
Yeah.
And things started to kind of slow down, and Taz said, there's a lot of times when a wrestler sees his own blood, they're going to turn
it on.
And next thing you know, John is on one knee and he starts chopping Roos. And like I wrote in there, the pop from the crowd when it was almost like the crowd heard Taz, and being at those tapings or at the live events, you can, like, if you're in the crowd, you can't hear what Taz is saying because you can't even see him unless you're on the hard camera side. So so they were sitting there, the match was going, and then gets a hold of the chain. Mox gets a hold of the chain, or Preston gets a hold of the chain, wraps around Mox. Mox gets the chain, and they call the match. And I was just like, woof. I thought Roosh looked really strong. Preston was like in the match, like he had to be present for the match, but it seemed like it was he was a necessary part of the match, not to like downplay what he did and all the blood he lost and everything. But I thought Roos and Claudio looked fantastic. That spinning corkscrew uppercut that he did off the middle rope, man, I'd be at the dentist right now. That was awesome.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, Roosh So Roosh is interesting because I think Roosh phones it in a lot, and I think at the beginning of this match he was phoning it in, because I've seen some of his other stuff where it's like, dude, you're this big dude, you're supposed to be violent, but it doesn't look that way. Did not phone it in last week with Danielson.
No,
and I almost felt like he was starting to phone it in a little bit on this one because, like I said, there were some hits. I'm like, that's really weak, and then it looks like Mox just literally chopped the crap out of him and said, "Bring it, like let's do it." And then yes, he seemed to have turned it on. And I don't know if it's because maybe in Mexico he has to tune it down. I don't know what the story is behind that. Maybe it's just the way he works.
Yeah.
And then as far as the Preston thing, so the commentators kept talking about, oh, this is his redemption. He's out to get revenge. It didn't feel that way though.
Right.
And there was a potential there to extend a story and make a better story about it. I don't know. Like I said, the match just felt a little clunky. It didn't do much for me.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge Mox fan,
There it is.
I like the bloody Mox. But the match itself, it was probably one of my least favorite Mox matches, and probably one of my least favorite Claudio matches since I've been back.
All right. Hey. So as that match was wrapping up, things start to unravel backstage. They were all kind of celebrating, and Hangman Page is he's in the back playing voyeur, watching the match, doing the typical
like this.
off to the side, and the glare on the screen. I don't know how you saw anything, but hey, it's magic of TV. What are you going to do? So Kip, Butcher, and the Blade give Hangman the once over, and so that happened, and then all of a sudden it was over. I was like, now what?
Yeah.
So obviously it was leading up to what would happen a little bit later, and the way that match was sort of almost like a zipper, like it just had to be there so they could, get to the top.
Yeah, I think the beatdown had to be there to make the match competitive, because otherwise, like, Hangman should have walked through Kip Sabian. No offense, Kip Sabian, but
no.
As in wrestling, they're tiers, and to me, Kip Sabian is not even quite mid yet. He's working his way there, and I think he's good in the ring. And I don't like this character he's portraying, but he is good in the ring. Yeah. I just felt like they had to have that beatdown so that when they got to the match later, you're kind of like,
playing field,
like they're making it a little more competitive, and it doesn't look like Hangman's working down to Kip Sabian.
Okay, yeah, that's a good way to put it. So then, so that piece of business happens, and then they go to the Wardlow piece, and I've chef's kiss, baby.
Yeah, this is good business.
I like Wardlow. I love Jim Ross. So to have JR in there really, for me, really brought it home. Not that Renee isn't great, and she did some good work here in a little bit, but I'm whatever they're doing with him, sign me up. Twice on Sunday.
Yeah, the promo was just amazing, and it goes to the whole how Tony Khan's mind works, and it could have been Wardlow and it could have been Joe in this whole thing, because he cut his hair, whatever. But the fact that they've not put this information out there, so I guess we should go over what the promo was. But he talks about how he lost his dad to cancer after a tumultuous time with him. Lost his dad to cancer. He left his life, came back. He got to see him wrestle once, had cancer, passed away. So Wardlow promised to grow his hair out and beard out because his father at the end lost it all. So he was gonna grow it out and have it. And that he told this private story to Samoa Joe. But just the whole idea, because if they'd have told us that months ago, whatever, okay, we're setting up for the obvious him getting his haircut. But the fact that they held this back, whether it's a work or shoot, either way, if it's true, that sucks, man. I hate that he lost his family, but the way they did, it was great. It was a way to instantly heap Samoa Joe, and he wasn't even in the promo.
Yeah.
And then an instant way to babyface Wardlow, and then Wardlow to look right at the camera and go, "You fought all these monsters. Now you're about to fight me." I'm like,
"You've never survived a monster like me." And talk about getting the rub. You're doing an interview with JR, and again, not not that Renee didn't do a great job later on, but I instantly was like, okay, I feel like Samoa Joe is, number one, number two, maybe number three on the ROH in the ROH food chain, and Wardlow definitely jumped a couple of rungs. So I think that's going to be that is going to be awesome.
Yeah,
so,
I think Wardlow gets the title from him because I think they're going to move Samoa Joe off to Ring of Honor now that Ring of Honor is going to actual weekly tapings. So
yeah, the weekly tapings start here pretty soon. 3-4
right down the road.
So. And they're going to be in Orlando. They're actually going to do some of the preliminary matches and some of the intro work for the Paramount or Warner Brothers Discovery package they're going to do. So I thought I haven't
looked into that whole Paramount Plus thing they're doing. So did they they're going to start streaming on Paramount Plus now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. I don't know why I haven't seen that news, and I'm usually up on my news. But this is I think the third time you've mentioned it, and I'm like, I should really look into that. So are they going to stream their library kind of like Peacock? Or do we not know the details
of it?
Yeah,
I'm not sure about that part. And it would make sense that this next TV deal that AEW would get would somehow partner with that. And,
right. Okay.
I'm so glad that Tony Khan bought Ring of Honor, and it wasn't just for the library, because I think, if it's not going to be NXT that you can groom a wrestler in or a superstar or whatever,
right.
I think having Ring of Honor as the alternative spot, the next part will be, who are they going to have on Ring of Honor? Who are they going to have backstage? What producers are they going to have?
I have my dream scenario.
Yeah. Yeah.
My dream scenario is you bring CM Punk back and you give him Ring of Honor. You let him book Ring of Honor. You let him do, you make it his baby, because he really does have a great mind for the business.
Yeah.
Even though he's a little crazy, but you let him own it. Like TK gives it to him, kayfabe or whatever. But and then you build a awesome invasion story down a year or two down the road, where now CM Punk's got his army and he comes after the elite in AEW.
Yeah.
And some of I think that'd be such a cool storyline. I don't know if it'll ever happen or not, but it'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that'd be a lot of fun, and bring back some of the big names from ROH, and I really have enjoyed catching up on some of the ROH matches, and and again, I'm a title guy, so watching the titles develop, I thought it was pretty cool. So they go into that, and then the match with Mark Briscoe and Woods kicks off. And I tell you, I've watched a lot of matches since the unfortunate passing of Jay Briscoe, and I don't remember them being that vocal as Mark was last night against Woods. And I really, really enjoyed that match, especially the part when he went and grabbed the chair. I'm thinking, don't get yourself disqualified, man. And he starts banging the chair.
Yep.
And then everybody starts clapping. And then he does that flip and lands on old boy. And it was awesome. And I'm happy as all get up. And there's no allegedly with this one, because Mark Briscoe is all elite.
All elite, baby. Yeah, it was fantastic. It was great to see him. It's funny you mentioned the noise thing, because if you go back and watch some of their, I don't remember if it was New Japan or early Ring of Honor stuff, but they used to click and make noises to each other as a way to communicate in the match. At least that's what they always said in the commentary.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so it was kind of neat to see that. But he's just great. He's fantastic. I hear allegedly, like you would say, he's like 145 IQ. Apparently he's super, super duper smart kind of dude. Off the scales, almost genius level, but plays this kind of goofy redneck backwoods guy, and he does it so well.
Just a chicken farmer.
Oh, it's so good. I'm so glad he's all elite, and I absolutely love the fact that they introduced him as one half of the Ring of Honor champions.
Yep.
Like, I love that they're not stripping him of the title, that they're not, hey, Tony's like, nope, you're the champ. Like, we're going to leave that there until whatever, they're going to have to do something eventually, obviously, but I really appreciate that that's how they're introducing him. They didn't just kind of like, suddenly he doesn't have the titles and we're not going to think about it.
Right. Yeah, it's a WWE thing where, and we talked about this the other night, where if the WWE doesn't want you to remember it, they do not want you to remember it,
right,
if fans are butts. So I thought the match length was really good because it told a story, because Woods and Mark have history. So they went back and forth, talked about how this wasn't their first time crossing paths, and it was a really, really strong showing, and a great, and I don't want to say debut match, but with them announcing that he was all elite, I would say the first match on his official AEW Road to Redemption, or Road to building whatever his new lineage will be as a singles wrestler.
Yeah, and I think Tony Khan came out and said that he'll be on AEW and Ring of Honor, which is kind of neat. So I like that, because I was worried they're gonna like, all right, he's all elite, but we're gonna shove him over to Ring of Honor, because I want to see him on my TV more. I enjoyed him with his brother. I enjoyed some of this stuff, and obviously I didn't watch as much as I used to, because I wasn't as into Ring of Honor. But I did go back and watch some of the stuff, and I really had a good time watching him. And the redneck kung fu, and he's so charismatic, and he's just fun to watch. And I'm just glad Tony's taking care of him. Officially made him all elite, even though I think technically they both signed contracts, but it was Ring of Honor contracts, not all elite contracts. So it was kind of cool to see that graphic.
Yeah. Last time I checked for Jay's family, it was over 300,000 on that GoFundMe page. So I mean, the wrestling community and Tony Khan are taking care of the family. So I think I'm just like you. I was super happy to see it.
It put a smile on my face.
Yeah, absolutely. You like to see a good news story. So we moved from one good news story to another, and Adam Cole, baby, sitting backstage with Renee, and I really, really was waiting for like some kind of an announcement, like I'm back and I'm taking on this individual, or I'm taking on this this wrestler, or this insert name. And I don't know if they're stalling because of a pending New Japan free agent, or if and I'm alluding to Jay White, and because the two of them have some pretty good history. And I think Ibushi. Or Ibushi, that'd be a fun match too. But the lighting was good for the interview.
Yeah, I think in my notes I put WTF, like what was the point of this? Like I mentioned when we talked about Raw, I always like the why. There was no why here. And it brought up more questions, because they talked about when he made his debut, when he came back out, like, oh my gosh, he's back. He said he's good to go, he's ready to go, he's going to get in the ring. But when he had this conversation now, it's like he's not quite cleared yet. And I'm like, wait, what? I don't understand. So this was an interesting interview. I'm glad he's back. I'm glad Adam Cole's back. I think he's going to be great. I like the idea of building him up over the next 6-8 months, and maybe he's the one that takes it from MJF at the end of the War of 24. I want it to be Mark Briscoe, but I'll take Adam Cole too. I would love to see Mark Briscoe do it. But this was just I love Renee Paquette. I felt this was like a waste of Renee. It was just a waste of time on TV. Nothing came out of it. There was no purpose. It was just there. And I don't know, like you said, maybe. So I think Tony Khan suffers from, sometimes he gets ahead of himself. I think the Mercedes Moné thing, I think he really did have plans to bring her in. Something fell through, so they threw Tony Storm in. And that night they had to come up with something else to pop everybody, because everybody was expecting Mercedes. So Adam Cole, let's get him in and pop everybody. And I think this might be kind of the same thing, is they had something lined up and we pumped the brakes, maybe Ibushi or White or who knows? Maybe another free agent that we're not tracking on, or maybe, I don't know. Maybe somebody's. I'm trying to think if anybody recently got injured that he could have feuded with in AEW or now, but I can't think of any like notable injuries.
Right.
But you wonder if that's what. Like I said, sometimes I feel like this is going to happen, and it didn't happen the way I wanted to. So I'm going to backtrack. Yeah.
And it wasn't, for obviously if it was down to a dollar thing, obviously Tony's got the money to throw. Monet wanted a certain amount of freedom, and she wanted to be a free agent for a little while and experience a little bit of everything. So yeah, it's interesting, and and when the interview was going on, I'm like, okay, here it comes. Okay, no, it's come now. And the only thing I could think to write down was interesting. So we'll just hurry up and wait. And something that we didn't have to wait much longer for was the contractual obligated appearance for your AEW champion. And if you were watching this on Fight TV, when
he went at the fans,
when TBS went to commercial, he was dropping F-bombs,
throwing drinks at them, spitting on people.
Yeah, so he did the drinks in Old Boy's face, and I don't know if that was a plant or not. I doubt
it's
it.
It's MJF. I don't know that it was.
Yeah, so I thought, man, this guy's a freaking dirtbag.
He's a great heel. He's fantastic.
Yeah. So he brings out Christopher Daniels, and Christopher Daniels. I don't know if you caught his eye.
Yep,
it was all blacked out. He had a hemorrhage behind his eye, but amazingly enough, it didn't affect his eyesight. So I was like, oh, geez.
Yeah. Didn't that happen in the match where the Young Bucks retired SCU? And that's where I think that happened, was in the match.
Yeah, he took a toe.
Yeah, it took a wonky hit
to the eyeball. So he goes through, and he's known Bryan Danielson since 98, 99, 2000. They were in this Indies tournament. He tells the story. He looks at MJF, and few words get exchanged, and he looks over at him after he gets ready to throw the bribe at him, and goes, he is going to put your whip in the dirt. And I thought, come on, son.
That was a great line.
And there were some other podcasts were like, oh, is that the new stipulation? It's a 60-minute whoop in the dirt match.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what happens, because for me this connected the Boogeyman and the doubt that may or may not be slowly creeping in to MJF, and just my wrestler brain, not to take Tommy Dreamer's words, but it connected it to the Cody Rhodes and Sami Zayn, where Sami was like, I don't know if I can beat him.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my goodness, this is just like you said, everybody went to promo school. And I was just like, this, he heated himself up. MJF got enough heat on him because he crotch shots Christopher Daniels and just degrades the entire crowd.
Yeah.
And then Danielson comes out. He scoots out, does the shit heel kind of a thing.
Yep.
But all in all, great promo.
Yeah, they've been building the whole MJF doubts himself, but he doesn't want to admit he doubts himself thing.
Right.
So, because everybody's talking about how he's scared to fight in a 60-minute match, that Danielson's going to expose him, which is legit. Like, a 60-minute Iron Man match against Danielson is, if Danielson wanted to, he can expose him. But he's such a professional, it'll be a great match either way. Whether he gets gassed and Danielson covers for it or whatever the case is going to be. But
I think that's going to be fun. The pacing is going to be important.
Yes.
Danielson even said in his promo, he can't go 60 minutes like I can go 60 minutes.
Right.
And you're just like, oof, you're right. I can't.
Yeah, I'm really curious how that match is going to go. I can't wait.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a long-ass pay-per-view. Because your main event's already an hour, no matter what.
Right.
So, and Tony likes to book them 6-7 hour pay-per-views, it feels like.
77 matches, and
Oh,
you know,
man.
you figure you got, you know, this ginormous roster,
Yep.
and you've got all these people sitting at home that are, you know, getting paid on the downside of their contract, and they're
Miro.
calling
I
every
want
other
Miro
day,
back.
like, yeah, hey, you know, like if you're not going to use them, just release them, and you know, because Miro wouldn't make any sense in Ring of Honor
No.
unless like because then you're going to change the spirit of Ring of
Although
Honor.
Miro
And
versus Samoa Joe would be a damn good program, though.
well, I mean, yeah, it would be fun, but there's no, I mean, you can't have history unless you make it. So I mean,
Right.
yeah, I mean that's an interesting, yeah, that would be interesting to
Yeah.
trying to work through how the story, but yeah, I think
Yeah, I don't
you
know.
know if you're not going to use Miro, you know, book him in a loser leave town match or something and let him
Right.
you know fly. I don't
Yeah,
think he comes to Stamford. I don't. Well, maybe he would because his wife said that she'd shut her fans only account down. So
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the stories. And you hear things that they've got stories from, and he doesn't want them, so he backs out. And
yeah,
so I don't know what the truth, what the true story is. But I do miss Miro. He was one of my favorites, so I want him back.
yeah. Really strong match. A really strong promo. It's going to be a very interesting match. I don't know how much fun it's going to be because it's going to be a couple of men taking their lunch pails to work. Probably going to be a lot of blood. So I'll be watching, and I like you said, yeah, through my little bipolar.
Yep.
I think, like you said, I think MJF leaves the champion, and it's got to be some kind of shit heel move that involves the ring.
Yeah.
So solid promo, and then the advertisement for what we're going to see with the three-way match kind of backs up some of the story, how things came to be. You had a little bit of promo talk, and then the Cage and Jack Perry match.
Yep.
It's rolls right in. I'm not a huge Jack Perry fan. I'm not sure what's missing from when he was Jungle Boy to now that he's Jack Perry.
Right.
It might be me. I'm not really sure. But him going against the Machine Cage, I like the Goliath,
Yep.
versus match.
Samson and Goliath. Yeah.
I was, but they were bringing it back how Cage wanted revenge, and this is what was going to happen. Fast paced. Perry was using his speed, jumps through the second rope a couple of times, and then the third time, woof, Cage catches him, bam, on the side of the ring, which I think everybody knows at this point is the hardest part of the ring.
It is. It is the hardest part of the ring.
And I was just like, man, call the doctor. This probably could be it. So Perry goes through the match. Cage looked really strong. He did some really good moves. I remember him when he was doing Lucha Underground and that character that he was playing. And he's gone through some back injuries and stuff, so you could tell he's a little more of a ground attack guy. Used his strength, and then, as the guys on What Culture say, the most devastating move in wrestling. He gets kind of a cheap roll-up win, and Perry with the victory.
Yeah, decent match. It wasn't as good as their first one, I don't think. Yeah. But it was good. I enjoyed it. Just this Dynamite in general felt kind of flat to me for a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. Even what comes out here after the match, where I'll just go into it. He's walking up the aisle, and your boy, where my peeps
Captain
at
Charisma, baby.
Yeah, man, Christian Cage comes out.
I'm a peep, just so everybody knows. That's my guy.
Yeah, comes walking out, sprays him with some mace, beats him down. Yeah. But even that was like, I thought Christian Cage would get a bigger pop, and it was almost like people forgot his theme music, and it was like, who is? Oh, okay. Yeah. But the match was okay. I didn't love it. It wasn't bad. And then even the beatdown, like obviously that's going to be the Revolution match. Mm-hmm. which is cool. I'm good with that. Finally blow off this feud, which has been going for a long time, and I think if it wasn't for Cage's injury, we'd have finished it off a while ago.
Agreed. Yeah.
So, yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. So they and like I put sort of my mental notes. I was like, man, what a cheap win! Like I was expecting a sort of a baby face awesome finish, and everybody's like, woo! You know, thank you, Laredo.
Yeah.
And he gets the kill switch, and then they roll right into a promo piece. This just in backstage. Acclaim calls for their rematch clause.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden they're in a 4-way dance.
Yeah,
and,
I think there was a promo before the Jungle Boy match where the Guns talked about, I guess there's going to be a couple tag team battle royals.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be a triple threat match. And then the Acclaim said they're going to use which I'm okay with that because it's one of those things that AEW doesn't use much is the rematch clause. You don't hear them talk about it. So I was like, all right, that's cool. Like now we know it exists. It's lore. And the fact that they can call it and use it to get themselves into that match. But the tag team thing, that leads into a whole bunch of what if stories. I'm curious where that's going to go now. Because I can't think of that many tag teams right now that are hot. Is this building FTR coming back? Is it building Mark Briscoe to have a partner and join it? Is it like I'm not sure where these two battle royals are going to go and who we're going to see come out of it.
Yeah,
and a 4-way tag match will be interesting.
Yeah, I think I think kind of what you were leading into, or like trying to pull at the threads. I think
I just got it.
comes back, and the daddy ass somehow interferes and costs the Acclaim the title. Guns keep the titles for a little bit longer. FTR, Guns, Revoluciones, or something, afterward. What do you got?
No, it just clicked, man. Sting and Darby. Sting and Darby are going to be in that tournament, and I bet Sting and Darby win the tag team titles. Strap them up, let them go, and then, yes, you take it away from them eventually, but, man, that would be great.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just hit me. I'm like, that would be cool.
That'd be fun. That'd be a nice tribute to send Sting out on top.
Yep.
And, 6-8 months down the road before the end of the year, they have Darby versus Sting, and he goes off into the sunset. Solid.
Yeah, I mean, you could build a storyline off of it. You could even turn Darby heel if you wanted to on the back of it, or who knows? You could play the card where Darby's doubting himself now because he's lost his title.
Yeah,
and maybe they don't win the titles. They get into the match and they miscommunicate or something. That's a tag team I'd like to see in that match.
Yeah,
like you said, FTR. Maybe the Butcher and the Blade get a push.
Yep. Yeah, that's why
I'm not sure. Lucha Brothers, maybe.
Yeah, so Lucha Brothers showed up on TV.
Yep.
Then you had Butcher and the Blade. They were on TV. This is 2 weeks in a row that Butcher and the Blade have been on TV. And so I thought it was. I thought that was pretty fun. So they show the NBA All-Star game getting ready to go on in Utah. So they're rescheduling when Rampage is going to air, and the program for Rampage is going to be strong. And I have a serious crush, dare I say, on Jade Cargill. And she has been getting better every single time I see her. I love the look. I love the character. Every match she comes out a little bit different. And she did the Thundercats not that long ago, so I'll be interested. So Rampage is going to be Dustin versus Swerve, Jade versus Vert. And I think I saw Vert on it was either YouTube or something. She just flies all over the place.
Yeah.
And then Elite versus Top Flight.
Again, that's going to be a good one.
That's going to be incredible. And then hopefully this will be the end of the JAS versus Starks. So it'll be Garcia against Starks, because I think Starks needs to, I don't know if he goes away to get get the stink off of him because he's been so tied up in that. But he just needs to get some distance and really hit the reboot because he looked so strong. Everything was going really good. He was the number one contender. Him and All Ego Ethan Page have a match, and they're like, okay, well, we're going to strap the rocket to Ethan. But the whole crowd was totally into Starks, and now here we are. So
yeah, I'm with you. I wish it's the end, but I don't think it will be.
Yeah,
my guess is he'll beat Garcia. Then Guevara will get involved or jump him afterwards. Then he'll fight Sammy Guevara, and then the final blow off will be at the pay per view. Because Chris Jericho's not going to miss the pay per view. The only way I can see it going otherwise is if you're going to put the Sex Gods in the tag team tournament, or I don't think it's a tournament, the tag team battle royals, and maybe put them in the 4-way.
Maybe.
I just see Jericho milking this to the pay per view, and Starks will probably go over in the pay per view, but I think they're going to drag this on.
Yeah, because he's not at Ocho's level. So, So the elite top flight, they talk, they get everything worked out. That they're gonna have their match.
Yep.
A lot of talk about balls, and then Mark, one of the brothers throws the ball at the camera guy.
Yeah, Brandon.
The
right in the nards.
Yeah. So then Kip and Penelope Penelope was ringside. Hangman versus Hangman, and I looked and I missed the Guns promo. I don't know what I was doing.
It was really quick.
Yeah,
it was super
I
fast.
missed the Guns promo
because I think it came out of commercial and it hit that promo and then it went right into the Jungle Boy match. Because I missed it the first time too.
Yeah. Okay.
So behind the scenes, I usually watch the show live, or I try to as much as I can, and then I watch it once as just a fan to get my initial feelings, and then I go back and now that we're doing the podcast, I kind of go back and try to catch more of it and little things. So I caught it the second watching.
Okay. Yeah. So then Hangman and Kip, they're in the ring just as they're about to lock up. I hit pause. I'm like, how? And this show just seems so long. Yeah. And I look, and they had 33 minutes left.
Yeah.
And so you're an hour 30 in, or hour and 27. You've got a stacked roster. You've drug all this time out with 7 promos and six picture-in-picture portion during some of these matches. And we'll get into the main event. So Kip and Hangman, their match goes, and it was 4.5 minutes, and part of it was picture-in-picture.
Yeah, and it felt like a lot longer, which is weird.
Yeah.
I felt like the match went too long.
Yeah. It was,
This was a rough Dynamite for me.
Yeah.
I guess we could do a wrap-up. I mean, we're already at 55 minutes, so we'll probably should start speeding it up, but we'll do it.
Okay, yeah. So they get through the match. John and the Blackpool Combat
That's the part I want to talk about.
And they're like, oh, you're not happy with the way the match ended. I'm not happy. So here's what we're going to do. And then Mox calls Hangman the emo cowboy. I was like, man, these one-liners are just cash money.
Yeah.
So Yuta was in the ring. He didn't say anything. He was just there for moral support. And,
this was one of those high points for me. I loved this. I like the idea of Mox saying, "Oh, I'm done with you," and then Heyman kind of digging it. Did you really want to win that way? And Mox going, "Well, no, I really didn't." And I like that. And then I love the "You've got no friends." And I've always been an Evil Uno fan. I used to watch him in Independent. Dude, slimmed down. He looks great right now, and he can go. He is really good in the ring. I loved him coming out and seeing this other side of him. I'm like, yes. And I loved him getting and pie facing Moxley.
Yeah.
But then I love even more that Moxley just kind of blew him off and looked around him to Hangman to say Texas Death Match. I was like, oh. So and I think they said Evil Uno versus Moxley on Wednesday next week.
Yep,
which
next week they'll tie up. So I think you'll have a Texas Death Match. I don't know where they're going to be.
At the pay-per-view.
It'll probably be in Texas still. Jeez.
No, where are they for the? I don't remember where they're at for the pay-per-view. Yeah. But you think the Danielson match is going to be bloody? that one.
Yeah.
Look how much they almost killed each other in just their regular matches.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the weapons? Oof.
Yeah. So that good piece of business rolls into the other piece of business, and the funniest part about the JAS talking about the match was Hager talking about, I absolutely love this hat, and Jericho trying not to laugh, and I was just trying to get through that. I'm just over it. So Garcia and Starks will meet up, and like you said, I think that'll lead to what will happen at the pay-per-view, and then they have another commercial where they talk about the Tony Storm, Ruby, and
a little recap
Britt
thing.
Baker, and then they lay out what Rampage is going to look like, and I'm like, wow, so Rampage is going to be good. And then they reminded me, hey, there's one more match. I hit pause at that point. There was 11 and a half minutes left in the show.
Yep.
And when the last wrestler entered the ring, it was Britt, and there was 9 minutes left. Out of that 9 minutes, two 2-minute picture-in-pictures. So 4 minutes of that 9-minute match were picture-in-picture, and everybody looked great. I like how everybody got their stuff in. I didn't like how Saraya got involved, but it's whatever. It's good to see her.
Always.
We all agree. And Ruby.
I mean, because she's healthy. That's why. Because she's healthy.
Yeah.
And back in the
we're
ring.
happy that her head and neck are better. And
it had nothing to do with the outfit she was wearing.
No, absolutely not. So one of the guys called that move that Tony Storm does, instead of sweet chin music,
sweet cheek music.
Yeah, sweet cheek music. So they hit her with the spray paint. Britt takes the sweet cheek music. Ruby throws her out, and Ruby gets the win. And more importantly than Ruby getting the win, I think Britt taking the pin.
Yep, I agree. Yes. Yeah. The match was there. So I have this thing about Britt Baker. I really like Britt Baker. I love the way she looks. I love her character. I love everything about her. You can tell she's still green sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And something about Ruby Soho. Actually, I'll reiterate this. So when Ruby Soho came to AEW, she had the WWE stink still on her, and you could tell her working style didn't quite fit. She was still holding back, and she's still in kind of that we don't lay in that hard.
Right.
So there was a couple interactions between them that I thought, like, okay, guys, you could put it in there, and there were a few interactions where they were setting up moves, and you could tell that Baker was either not quite ready for it or had to adjust positions. So I think she's great. I think she's awesome charismatically. She's got a lot going for her. I think she's a fantastic star and going to be there for a long time.
Yeah.
The timing issues, and I've always said this about Britt Baker. She's gotten a lot better. Tony Storm in that match was the superstar of the match. She's great. She's hard hitting. Everything she looks like is stiff. She is fantastic. I do not like this new character. But it is what it is. I like the storyline. At least they're giving a story. It was decent. I enjoyed the main event. I didn't pick up on the picture-in-picture, I guess, as much, but it might have been because I was kind of clicking through, and usually when it goes picture-in-picture, I just fast-forward it anyway. Yeah,
when it was, I just couldn't believe how many times it'd gone picture-in-picture. I was like, okay, cool, hey, great, 9-minute match, 2 picture-in-pictures. Like you said, I thought Tony looked great. Looked super strong during the match.
Yep.
I think you made your world champion Hayter look a little weaker than maybe what she needed to look like when she got laid out outside the ring when Tony Storm sort of tornado DDT'd her or whatever.
Yeah.
And but the
that's
ending,
a nice spot though.
That
was a pretty cool spot.
I thought it was good, and so all in all, when the match was over, it was just kind of like, okay, now what? And
that was it.
That was it. So we had a lot of promos, a lot of commercial picture-in-picture. No titles changed hands, but we got to see the world champion because he was contractually obligated. the Ass Boys being the antagonist, little, slimy heels. Acclaim is, trying to build themselves up. And then the announcement that Mark was All Elite. So for me, I think that hearing that Mark was All Elite really made it. And I'm looking forward to the Top Flight. And, I can't believe I'm really looking forward to Rampage.
Yeah, I can't believe I'm going to say it too, but I agree. Yeah. The show overall, I think, was decent. So I did want to back up really quick on the Hangman Adam Page Moxley thing. So Tony Khan does this thing, and it's part of it. It's just his booking habit where I want to fight you and you want to fight me, but I'm going to go through all your friends first. He's doing it with JAS. He's done it with the Pinnacle. He's done it with everybody. This was a neat little twist on it because it's going to be the same story. Moxley's going to fight. My predictions: Moxley's going to fight Evil Uno. You'll probably have a triple threat match or three-way match where it's Evil Uno, Silver and Reynolds versus Mox and Yuta and Claudio. So it's the same storyline, but I love the twist in it. I thought this was a better way to address it. You're still getting the matches for matches to get to the main match, but I like that. MJF promo was great. Enjoyed that. Danielson promo was good. The main event was the main event. I was happy to see the women main event it. Yeah. As far as the commercials go, that goes to kind of what I said earlier is the pacing of the show didn't work. Yes, they're going to have commercials. They're always going to have commercials. They usually know about when the commercials are going to be. And I felt that whoever produced this episode either is a little newer or maybe they changed some stuff up. I don't know. I just felt like the flow of the show did not work as well as they've done before. Because they've always done picture-in-picture, and it's always a distraction. I just felt like it was way more egregious, or the matches they did it in maybe as it kind of cooled down some of the hotter matches.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like you said, as they, you got to start slowing it down. So, So to me, what saved the show, and even is going to give it any beards, was the MJF promo.
Yep.
Because he's getting you to feel something. It doesn't matter what it is. You're feeling something. And I just like him throwing a drink at someone and just like berating and the
Bubba Ray Dudley style.
I'm still upset about this whole switching the girl into the driver's seat thing. Just dirty, dude. He's just dirty. So, so I gave it 2 beards.
Okay.
And
so same thing you gave Raw.
Yeah. 2 beards, and I really think that Rampage is going to be the show of the week for me.
Yeah. I don't know what SmackDown's got lined up.
Yeah.
Being the go-home show for Elimination Chamber, it's going to go one or two ways. It's going to be a dud, like Raw was, or they're going to pull out some stuff and you're like, oh, okay, that was good. But I'm kind of with you. I think Rampage might be the show of the week this week. We'll see. I gave this one, to be honest with you, about the same I gave Raw, which is 2.5.
Yeah.
It was about on par. Yeah. Because same thing, there was stuff in it that I really enjoyed that to me was top tier. Like with Raw, there was some top tier stuff, and there was some top tier stuff here. But yeah, I'd go 2.5, which is a very low rating for me on an AEW show because usually I'm 3 or 4.
You're sitting there wearing a Mox t-shirt and
this was a rough
WWE guy, just like yee.
And it almost made a 3. Like, I think if the Tornado tag team match didn't feel as clunky in the beginning, and there was something else that stuck out to me as like just kind of being a little out of place, it would have probably got up to 3, maybe 3.5. But because of those issues, I couldn't do it. So 2.5 for that one for me too.
There you go. Well, cool, man. I'm glad we got to sit and talk about the God Bless Texas, the Laredo episode on this Thirsty Thursday for AEW. So I'm Ellie Jair.
I'm Jay Tilley.
Thank you for joining us in the Man Cave. Stay safe, look out for each other, and until next time, I'll see you on the floor.
You've been listening to the No Shave Man Cave. If it's pro wrestling, we're talking about it. Unless we see something shiny and wander off into the woods. If you hang around long enough, we'll eventually come back. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Fire off your comments and be sure to leave us a 5-star rating, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hit us up on Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok at No Shave Men Cave. Y'all be cool, and we'll see you next time on the No Shave Men Cave.